Evening for 2023. It's wonderful to be back here tonight and stand before you and say exactly that. Welcome to a Cambodia information evening. The last time we said those words was 4 years ago up in the long room, and little did we know then that it would be 4 years before we could actually stand before you and do this again. So we're really super excited to be going back to Cambodia this year. Really excited about who we'll be going with, and also who we'll be meeting over there as well. And I'll say a little bit about the team in just a few minutes. We've got quite a bit to get through, and we thought the best thing to do tonight is not to go on too much from the lectern, as it were. We've been bombarded with lots of information, but actually show you something of the trip itself, to give you a flavour of what to expect and what type of adventures we'll be having, as well as the challenges and the joys and all that sort of stuff. And we've got someone here tonight with us who's going to share some of their story. They were on that last trip with us back in 2019. So that's where it is. It's Cambodia, Southeast Asia, top left there, that green country. And those of us who are over the age of 40 will probably remember this story of this nation very much in our childhoods back in the 1970s, and we'll talk again about that shortly. On the top right-hand screen there, you'll see our main centres. We'll be flying into Phnom Penh, which is the capital city, and we'll be centred there. That's where Flame does its amazing work. We'll also be taking a journey down to Senekville, down the south, which is the coastal resort. We've not been there before, so that's brand new for us. And when we go there, we won't be on our own. We'll be with about 70 kids from the Flame Education. So that's another brand new adventure this year. We'll be taking those children with us in 3 coaches and giving them a day at the beach. And then we make our way up to the north, up into a place called Siem Reap, and we'll talk about that shortly. So that's our sort of centres. So who's going? Well, there's the staff group. Mr. Foot, most of you know Mr. Foot, is with us tonight, and Miss Sholem. Miss Sholem won't be Miss Sholem when we go on the trip, because she's getting married the day before we leave. So she'll be Mrs. what? Mrs. Owen, okay? We'll be Mrs. Owen when we go to Cambodia, and we've got Mrs. Bradford as well, and myself. So that's the 4 staff going on the trip this year. Also, in the bottom left-hand side of your screen, we've got Ty. Ty works for Flame, and he's also a professional Cambodia tour guide as well, and he puts together a lot of our itinerary, and he'll be with us for the whole fortnight, and he'll be leading. This will be his 6th group that he's leading, even though he doesn't look very old on that screen. As you'll meet Sri Mir in a minute, and you'll realise they age far better than we do, I think, over in Cambodia. And the 6th person is Sri Mir, and it's wonderful this year. She's here with us at St. Paul's for 6 months as a residential assistant, working in Harrington House and working in our teaching and learning space as well. So that's great to welcome you both. And also on the front row next to Sri Mir, we've got Ben Scanlon. Ben's going to share something of his story and his experience when he went to Cambodia on that last trip tonight as well. So that's the staff. Who's it for? It's for, well, predominantly Year 12 students from this year, 2023 Year 12 students. Maximum of 24 students because of the nature of the trip. We break those down into 4 groups of 6. We potentially could push that out to 32 this year if there is the demand for it. But again, we'd have to make some adjustments to do that, and more information will be present for you as we get into those sorts of spaces. It's all about our students, about the students that we will meet there as well, the young people of Flame, the young people of Phnom Penh, who we work with and interact with, and of course the amazing staff of the Flame Centres as well that we will work with. Why do we go there? Cambodia, I don't know if many of you have been to Cambodia, but it's a remarkable country. It's a place it's a modern democracy. It's full of colour and vibrancy, culture, people, an amazing place to experience itself. But it's also a place with a remarkable history going way, way back. And you'll see those ancient temples in the back there over 800 years, and we'll spend some time there. It also has a rather tragic story as well. Some of us will remember the time of the Khmer Rouge in the late 1970s, when 3 million Cambodians lost their lives over a 4-year period. And that's a story that we will have quite a significant engagement with because it still plays its part in the life of Cambodia today. We will go to the killing fields, as they were known. We will go to S21, the notorious prison, and we will meet the survivors, and we will hear something of that history and that story whilst we are there. It's an incredible time. It's also a country of many contrasts. There we've got the penthouse apartments adjacent to the slums, and again we'll be confronted with that on a regular basis during our time and work in Cambodia. And again, that's some of the centres where we'll work with and some of the amazing kids that we will experience whilst we're there. I'm going to pause here now. I'm going to let Ben take over. And Ben's going to just share a little bit of what happened to him when he was there in 2019. Over to you, Ben.
Thanks, Rev. So I'm Ben. I went on the trip 4 years ago. Feels like yesterday. That's kind of weird. There's so much to talk about, but I'll condense it down into a little spiral. So basically on the trip, one of the activities that I was fortunate to be a part of was the medical tuk-tuk. So basically we just provided free basic medical care, something that we get really easily in New Zealand, but in Cambodia, if you don't have money, you don't get medical care. So we basically provided just checking in temperatures for any fevers or anything, checking blood pressures. And for me, in that moment, it was kind of taking on patients for the first time and feeling that rewarding feeling of helping someone who otherwise wouldn't get any other help. And that kind of set me up because I had no idea what I was going to do. And that's kind of set me up to take on nursing when I finished high school, and I'm in my final year. And hopefully I'll be a registered nurse at the end of this year, assuming my academics go well. And it's kind of, I guess, for me, the experience is one which is really powerful in the way that you kind of take yourself out of where your comfort zone and you see another perspective, a perspective of where there's people over there that they don't have the things that we have. Like they don't have clean water, they don't have medical care, and the things that you take for granted. And it's kind of, yes, we can think about that and sympathise with people, but until you've actually lived that experience or seen that experience firsthand, it's quite hard to have that life-changing moment. And I think Cambodia was one of those moments for me that was able to see the reality of the world and how maybe I can now take from this experience and impact other people's lives in my daily job. And so I chose nursing. Other than that, I won't throw on for too long because we are on a time limit. But I would highly recommend it if that's something that you want to do, if you want to impact people. This is really eye-opening. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. And there he is there in the screen there. A bit of a game-changing moment that day with the mobile medical unit as we went off into the slums with two amazing doctors that still work very much with Flame Cambodia. It wasn't just Ben as well, it was another young person as well. It's also finishing her nursing degree this year as well, and a midwife in Auckland as well. So it was a big moment for those, particularly those three students who had big U-turns while they were out there. This is some of the reasons why.
On Dubai, open sewer. Julian, Dave and Ben.
You can see your reflection in the crap and the poo just in everything. Any movement just exposes more dirt, and every house seems to like almost be leaking of sewage.
It's strange to see that this is near the extent of our abuse of our water.
And it kind of makes you like just reflect on like back at home people complain about small things, and you just look at like basic shit that they don't have.
Right. Sorry.
You can see the type of industrial buildings over there, probably where
Where it all
people
came
used
from.
to be, lives used to be. Now it's crammed into one area. This is the whole thing from here.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Something to take home, mate.
So that was, of course, that wasn't the local river, that was the sewer. And what you don't get from that experience was the smell that we had to endure that day. It was pretty powerful. I'm going to hand over now to an amazing person that we first met in 2018, Srimir Neal, a member of staff at St Paul's and also a member of staff at Flame, so nobody's better qualified than she is to talk about the type of work that Flame does and the type of work that we'll be doing with Flame in December. Srimir, to you.
Hello, so my name is Nyal Sremi and I'm from Flame Cambodia organization. I'm actually like a full-time staff at Flame Cambodia organization. But before I became a staff, I also like was a student which goes through like all the program of Flame, and now I became a staff. So I'm here to tell you about like Flame work. So basically Flame focus on education for children and youth from community, like poor community in the capital. So we run like 4 different after-school centers, which when we talk about like after-school center, focus on children from community who study in public school, like from grade 1 to grade 6, and then we teach them Khmer, which our language, and English and math. But we also have like different activity like craft, life skill, and sport, which they can, you know, find that opportunity in other places. And the other program we call Path program, which we also run that program in our after-school center, but that program is for like high school students. So after class from public school, they come to our center to study English and computer. And we also have like youth club, which we have youth club for student in Path program once a month, which the aim of that program is to be their character, personality growth, and spiritual growth. Yeah. And the other thing we work on is like university students. So we also have that program. So we have like, we sponsor some of the students to go to university. And we also have another one which called LAMD, Leadership and Mentoring Program. So Leadership LAMD program, which contains some students from sponsorship student and also some staff that they want to build the leadership skill. So basically the trip, the student would join the trip was like hang out a lot with the kids, youth, and university students to, you know, like exchange the experience and stuff. Yeah, the other one thing that Flame do is community engagement, which we have like case workers to go to community, have training for parents, and also mentoring the parents of the student that come to our center. And one last thing that Flame do is mobile clinic, so which run by a doctor. So he has like his own clinic, he works in a hospital, but he also go through Flame, like was a student, and then he still loved Flame, and he want to give it back to the community. So he still give his time to community through Flame by providing mobile clinic to like in different area in the capital. And also he goes to provide like free health care to our students in after-school center as well. So yeah, so I'm trying to make it short, like about Flameberg. So that's all for my talks today. Thank you.
Kia ora, thank you, Suramir. So a big flavour there of the work of Flame. On the screen there, the bottom picture, the lady on the left, that's Sue. Sue's the person really behind the inception of Flame. Sue is from Tiamutu. She's daughter of a dairy farmer in TA. And Sue's no stranger to St Paul. She worked with World Vision for many years, and she was the 40-hour famine coordinator for the North Island. And then she left New Zealand probably 15 years ago and worked for a charity called Hagar. And she worked in Southeast Asia, Thailand, and in Cambodia with Hagar. Hagar works in as an NGO, works with young women and girls particularly who've got caught up in trafficking, and they escape from trafficking or help them to escape from the industry that they're in, and they support them and care for them. And Sue's story is quite remarkable. She was in a balcony overlooking the city in 2014, I think, in Phnom Penh, and she felt very much called at it's time we moved the ambulance. The ambulance parked at the bottom of the cliff. We're trying to pick up these young women, these girls, and help them as best we can, and let's move the ambulance to the top of the cliff. And that's what the idea around Flame is. And suddenly they thought that the best place to go is to try and get ahead of the traffickers. Let's get into the slums and let's set up some education centres to give these young people some education, to give them the chance to actually see there are other options, there are other lifestyles open to them. And that was the sort of beginning of Flame. We've been involved with Flame since the very early days, 2016. All of Flame's admin costs, are covered by Sue's church in Te Awamutu. So every penny that Flame raises as a charity goes directly to fund their work. So it's a very unique and very special charity that we're very fortunate as a school community to be partnered with.
There is an old proverb that says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. We go into the poorest parts of Cambodia to plant hope into the lives of slum living children so they can fulfill their potential and be empowered to achieve their dreams. Dreams to become doctors, teachers, or whatever their hope is to become. We journey with emerging leaders who inspire and nurture our people through education, mentoring, and leadership development. They are empowered to serve in the hope that what has been planted into them can be planted into others. This is the full circle. Even though the journey is challenging, we are making a real difference, but we can reach further and wider with your help. Partner with us to make a lasting impact, transforming life in the nation of Cambodia, because 20 years ago, that child was me.
That's somebody we will meet over there. That's Dr. Ty. Sorry, not Dr. Ty, Dr. Ritti. And Ritti was a slum child, and his story is quite remarkable. He tells it quite openly. I think he was about 12 or 13 years old, and somebody he cared deeply about died in his arms, and he couldn't stop the bleeding. And so he made a promise at that point that, I don't know how this is ever going to happen, but I'm going to be a doctor one day. Nobody's going to die in my arms again. And he got picked up by Flame, got an education, and 15 years later, he qualified as a doctor. And now he's recently qualified as a surgeon as well in Cambodia, which is amazing considering his story and his background. And he'll be somebody we'll meet and work with over there. So that's kind of the heavy stuff. Let's have a little bit look at the trip, some of the fun stuff, some of the stuff that we enjoy as much as all the challenging stuff as well. So we're just going to flick over. Hopefully the software works, and we're going to show you a little bit about the 2019 trip in the form of a few videos. Perhaps go back a bit. We've tested this out 8 times in the last 7 days, thinking, right, it's not going to fail, but it did on the night we did it. We'll try again. Hopefully it will work now. There's the sheep.
Require a vast amount of perseverance, courage, kindness, and grit.
Hang up, Mr. Flock, Mr. Cup, say cheers for your cockroaches.
I dreamt I held you.
I'm Julian, and I'll be your spokesperson for day 6.
They probably need to run about 100 laps each.
How much do you want to raise?
We want to buy another one of these. They probably need to run about 100 laps each.
How much do you want to raise?
We want to buy another one of these. Oh, this
Here we are on the streets of Phnom Penh, horsing for Channel 3
And what we can't actually express now, right now, is yeah. There she is. I see her. Where were you from last year? Film, video. Apartments, they were moved, forcibly moved by the government into a new slum. Which they get on the pork today.
The chicken.
Got the chicken, okay.
Quite delectable.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Okay, when are you ready?
Yeah, but I don't know if I know that.
I'll give you $1, I can video you.
Alright, cool.
Okay, look, I'll just talk to him. Oh, the whole spider's gone in. He's taken the whole spider. One mouth. So a little bit of a flavour, there's a few extra bits in there as well that we'll talk about very shortly as well. In terms of just a brief sort of snapshot of the itinerary for everybody tonight and what we'll be doing in December. Planning's underway as we speak. We'll just wait for the slides to come back and then we'll talk to you about the itinerary with the use of some pictures. Okay, so we're flying from Auckland and we're going to go with Singapore Airlines via Singapore, change there and off to Phnom Penh. We will be at a sort of hotel / backpackers with its own pool. We booked the whole place out, so there's no other members of the public there. It's a gated in space as well, so we'll have the whole place to ourselves. First couple of nights we'll meet with the young adults, the leaders of the Flame Cambodia community. They take our students out for different experiences, street food and things, and we meet meet their staff. We get a sample of the markets. The markets are incredible. There's two huge markets, the Central Market and the Russian Market. Great place for your Christmas shopping. And there's so much stuff, Gucci, Yves Saint Laurent, Mont Saint Michel, a whole range of stuff there. Apparently it's not genuine and it's not fake. It's what they call genuine fake. So I'm not sure if it fell off the back of a lorry somewhere between Beijing and London, I'm not sure, but it's amazing stuff and it's just a few dollars. And the kids, our students, always go mad for it as well. So lots of amazing shopping in the markets. Then we'll go for a big day, a challenging day. Again, that day of engagement with the history. We go to the S21 prison and then out to the killing fields. After that, we break up into our groups, and from our groups we'll spend 4 days. They may not be consecutive days, but 4 days in the 4 different education centres of Flame. We'll be spread across the city, staff member in each group, and we'll make our way to these 4 centres where we'll run activities and work with the young people of those centres. We take over the programme, supported by Flame staff for those 4 days, and we run those morning and afternoon sessions while we're there and meet these amazing young people as well and work there. There's opportunity for the medical tuk-tuk, the mobile medical unit, for people to spend a day with that if they want to. And one of the great events we do is have a big soccer afternoon. We play football against the Cambodian Flame staff, and we always get hammered about 40-0 because they're pretty good at their football, unlike most of us, even though we had a few first 11 with us last time. There's sunset cruises. We go out on the river again with Cambodian staff and people for most of these adventures as well. Then we have to say goodbye, and then we go off to Siem Reap and we spend time on the way up. There's the very famous spider place on the way up. Not everybody's cup of tea. I hate the spiders. But a few people take the brave plunge and have a little play with some live tarantulas while we stop there for our morning tea. There are other pictures as well. There's piles of all sorts of interesting bugs that you can eat deep fried in garlic when we stop there. And of course, spiders are available to eat as well, deep fried in garlic, just for $1. Okay, just for $1 for a nice morning tea snack, if you want to, under no compulsion. We make our way up to the temples, built 800 years ago, with elephant power and thousands of people working on these incredible temples. They were lost for centuries in the jungle. The jungle took them over, and the French found them in the mid-19th century, as this Cambodia was a French colony up until the mid-20th century. And in that place, they discovered Siem Reap, which is the world's largest temple. It's huge, and we will spend sunrise there and sunset there as well. Amazing adventures we get up to in the temple spaces, including an incredible evening on the lake on these boats as well, where we meet the crocodiles. That one's not alive still. And, Pub Street, quite an interesting place in Siem Reap. We spend the night there. Again, lots of interesting street food you can sample, scorpions and snakes and frogs and all sorts of stuff. Again, no compulsion, just for the adventurous. Bit of zip lining, and brand new for this year. Up until 2019, the elephants were used for tourists around Siem Reap, around the temple's elephant rides. Those elephants are now all been removed from the temple, and they're in their own sanctuary. So they're wandering free in their own sanctuary. And through a contact of a man called Van Det, who's the in-country director for Flame, we'll be out there camping with the elephants for 2 days. So it'll be quite an amazing experience to be in that space in the jungle, in tents, and with these remarkable animals. Just hope they're tame. And then, of course, we say our goodbyes and make our way. We're leaving just after prize giving, the Sunday, I think it's the 3rd of December. There's an information about that. And now I'm going to hand over to Mr. Foot. I get to do the nice stuff, and he gets all the challenging bits, how much it's going to cost, and all that sort of stuff. Over to you, Mr. Foot.
Thank you, Rev.
Good evening, everyone. I was fortunate enough to go in 2019 on the same trip that Ben was on, and I must say, it's a game changer. And I'm really excited to be going back again this year. If we can just flick to the next slide, please. So this is the nuts and bolts of it. At this stage, it's an estimate. However, we're pretty confident that we've got things like the airfares down pat. So if you have a quick look at that budget, in Cambodia costs, the total in US dollars is 36,000, and that, if you break that down into New Zealand dollars, that comes to approximately 2,500 New Zealand dollars per student. Before that, and that's everything that happens in Cambodia. Then the flights, as Rev said, we've done a bit of research, and we've managed to book in with Singapore Airlines, who are holding some flights for us until such time as we make our minds up as to how many and who's going. The cost of those comes in at 3,400 New Zealand dollars, and then we've got to get ourselves to and from the airport, which we think is about 200 New Zealand dollars each. So the total cost of the trip per student would be in the order of, and you can't hold me to this, but this is as close as we can get at this stage, but it's 6,125 New Zealand dollars, which really, when you think about it, for 2 weeks in Cambodia and getting the experience that you're getting is not a huge amount of money, but it may be too much. Yeah, everything, all the food, all the accommodation, all the transport, everything is laid on for you. So we don't think it's too bad. I think 3 years ago it was in the order of 3,500, 4,000 New Zealand dollars, so it has gone up a bit, but I think that's largely the cost of the airfares has been a significant increase. And the airlines at the moment definitely are holding us, not to ransom, but they're definitely taking advantage of the sudden increase in travel demand again. Okay, some of the things that the slideshow hasn't told us, and if you just look through these pictures starting at the top left-hand corner, as I'm not telling you these things to try and put you off, but you need to be aware of them, and then you have to decide how you're going to deal with them or with each of them. And maybe there's some areas in this slide that might make you feel a bit uncomfortable, and you need to just be aware that, you know, it's not all fun and games. So the top left picture there is that even though we're going in winter, it's hot and humid. Okay, so, and it's uncomfortably hot and humid, but you know, that's just a reality. And so if that bothers you, then you know you need to be aware of that. The second thing is in the top second left picture. It rains a lot, often, but it's usually short, sharp showers, and they're over quite quickly. But they are intense rainstorms. The picture of the food. The food is very different to what we're all used to. It is often spicy and full of flavor, but you don't always get to choose what you're eating. As if we go out or are moving between places, it's easier for our guides, our flame guides, to be able to choose one food for everybody. So we don't have a lot of choice sometimes around the food that we eat, and if you're a fussy eater, you need to become unfussy. And whilst Cambodians do eat a lot of meat, if you're a vegetarian, you won't starve because you can be catered for. So the vegetarians can be catered for easily enough. But the food is, as I say, is often quite spicy and quite hot, but it is very, very flavoursome and very interesting food. We've seen a few pictures of insects, and insects, there are lots of live insects that, you know, creepy crawlies and spiders, and if you're a little bit squeamish, you need to be aware of that. There are a lot of dead insects which are eaten there as well. So, and if you're adventurous and you like to try a few different things, then there's lots of fun around some of the insects that you can try and eat. But yeah, we definitely stop on the bus trips and you know, try a few scorpions and try a few spiders and a bit of snake every now and again. And yeah, there's lots of interesting foods. There's also mosquitoes. And so we tend to, you know, we take insect repellent with us. In the bottom left corner there, you will get a dose of the runs. Okay, vomiting and diarrhea are almost inevitable. You will be, when we're all encouraged to wash our hands and keep our, stay hygienic as best we can. And we carry lots of, large quantities of pills and electrolytes, but it's almost a rite of passage to get a funny tummy. It usually lasts about 24 to 48 hours, and depending on the severity of it, you may need to stay in our accommodation for the day. You may not feel well enough to go out and about, but our experience is that you do get over it and very quickly are well enough to carry on. But it is a reality. We're not sure of what the recommended vaccinations that we're going to need for this particular trip, but we will take advice from our travel doctor, and there will invariably be probably some hepatitis vaccinations, and perhaps the current advice may be that we need to get a rabies injection and update our tetanus injections. But we will, if you're selected to go on the trip, we will keep you informed about that, and we'll arrange for that all to be done here through the school. I think the two bottom slides on the right-hand side there are important ones to be aware of. Okay, it is confronting. You will witness poverty and suffering of those that still live in the slums or have been affected by the country's tragic past. And this can be emotionally challenging for us. You will almost certainly feel emotions that you haven't necessarily felt before. We have a lot of discussion around this in preparation for the trip before we go, but we also have a lot of discussions while we're there. So we are we're quite open about discussing it with each other and how we're feeling about it, and actually we found that really, really helpful. But you do need to be aware that it will be upsetting at times. In preparation, we'll also learn a little bit about the history and some words and phrases and customs and traditions, which we will need to be respectful of when we get there. But the business of examining our feelings of how it is affecting us is something that we definitely is on the table, and we're very we have get-togethers, we have prayer meetings, we have discussions. We get into smaller groups and we discuss these things at quite a lot of length, because, as I say, some of the stuff that we will see will be challenging, and you will be affected by what you see and what you hear and what you feel and what you smell. But you will also be uplifted by it, because despite the poverty and suffering, the Cambodians that you will meet will be very, very happy to see you. And they are a very, very happy people. And you'll come away from there feeling that even though we're only effective on a very small scale, you will, in my opinion, feel that you've made a difference to someone's life. So that's the value of the trip that we see it, as we see it, because I think sometimes I think the overriding feeling that you get back from the students that have been on the trip in the past is that it just puts things for us here in New Zealand into perspective. And that's often a very important thing for us to do. And so it is a game changer. It is not always easy, but it is also a huge amount of fun. So we look forward to taking as many of you as we can on the trip. Do you want me to talk about this? So what happens next? So when you leave tonight, if you are still interested, and we hope that, as I said to you, I hope I haven't, put any of you off, but there's a letter to take with you, which has got a bit more information about it, and it's also got the costs written down, a little breakdown of the costs, but also an application form. Because we've had 52 applications for 24 places, you will need to submit an application form, which we will then take back from you, and then we will have an interview process where we interview everybody who's applied, and we will then have to try and whittle it down as best we can, which won't be very easy for us, but we will obviously be very transparent and very open about how we go about it. And following that, once we've made a selection, and we need to do that quite quickly, so we will need to move. We need to get these application forms back in fairly rapidly so that we can make these decisions, because we then need to firm up and confirm things like the airfares and the costs, etc. And we need to then, work really hard to get our budget very, very, accurate, so that everyone feels very comfortable about it. Okay. I think that's it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Foote. Awesome. So just recap there, really, just before we finish, and just open it up to any questions tonight, as we sort of aim to finish about 6:30. We've recorded this session as well, so it is going to be on the school YouTube channel if there's other things you want to revisit about tonight. And a number of people I can see, we've got a number of families on the Google Meet as well that may have questions as well. So don't hesitate to ask us if you've got questions and you want to communicate in a more private way around those questions. Right, welcome to do that. Just like to stress that we've talked a lot about spiders, bugs, snakes, scorpions, frogs, and all sorts of stuff. There's also a Macca's there. Okay, so there is Macca's in Phnom Penh, and there's Burger King, and there's KFC. So if you just need a little bit of dose of home, we can get it organised, okay? We wanted to give you the whole trip tonight, warts and all, the hard stuff as well as the wonderful, exciting stuff. But actually, when you chuck all that in together, you come back with this just incredible package of this amazing adventure. And every year we've come back with groups of students since 2015 that have just been blown away by what they did, what they saw, what they experienced in Cambodia. And it's been different for every student. Every student comes back with their own narrative, their own favourites, their own life-changing moments that they've taken into their futures. It truly is quite an amazing trip. We have regular group meetings whilst we're there on the trip. There will be times for karakia. We do the haka a few times. We haka quite spontaneously last time. We hakaed the students at the Flame when we left them. We hakaed our tour guide at Phnom Penh International Airport, and the whole place stopped, and everybody pulled out their cameras and like, wow, Kiwis doing a haka in Phnom Penh. And even the securities guards came out and put down their AK-47s for a minute and got their phones out to take the picture. It was quite amazing. So that happened as well. We go to church once, and that was quite an experience for us all, very different. We will sing waiata, we will play our ukuleles. We will be teaching. You will be teachers for 4 days. You will be teaching music, maths, English, language, activities, sport, a whole range of stuff whilst we're there. And we'll be spending time before we go getting all of that ready. We will meet before we go as regular groups. We've got Srimir with us this time, so we'll be learning some language for the first time. We'll go out there equipped with some Khmer phrases, so we're not all sort of in the dark with language. There'll be 4 groups of us, and we'll resource and plan those activities before we go. And of course, we do a lot of fundraising as well, and those of you in the boarding community will be very aware of the Flame Charity Relay, which we do each year. We raise 16,000 New Zealand dollars, which funds the work of this.
And there it is. There's St Paul's Collegiate Book Tuk-Tuk for Flame. Identified, grow, launch, and here we are, one of the slums in Cambodia. There's a tuk-tuk. It's had a great ride through Phnom Penh to get here. There's some food. Can you see the flies? It's not for us, it's for the dogs. And here it is. So all you wonderful people who does the road relay every year, this money keeps this bike, this tuk-tuk, this classroom, and these kids all going with mobile education. No, not that finger, 2 fingers, peace. Wrong finger, wrong finger. Are you from Auckland? You know, 2 fingers, like this, that's it. 2 fingers, yeah, peace.
As you can see, it doesn't matter where you go in the world, kids are all the same. That's something what we experience. So, not sure what I touched there. I touched something I probably shouldn't have done. what's the screen? There we go. Thank you for coming. Yes, indeed. Thank you for coming tonight, for giving up a part of your evening just to learn a little bit more about the trip. Those forms are available as you leave if you'd like to grab those. If you've got any questions you'd like to ask those now, feel free to do so if you feel that your question might benefit the whole group, or if you just want to hang, I'll be here. We've got Fitchett House Chapel tonight, so they're turning up in about 20 minutes. So we've got plenty of time. You can just, if you want to ask questions about the trip, feel free to ask myself, Mr. Foote, or Miss Sholem, or Mrs. Bradford, and particularly Sri Mir, who's here with us as well tonight. It's a great adventure, and it's a safe adventure. It's a safe place to explore some pretty challenging conditions in a way that you couldn't do in New Zealand. You couldn't wander around parts, even around this area, and experience some of the stuff. But in Cambodia, it's safe. We've had no incidents over the years. We've got great tour guides, amazing people from Flame that look after us, and we go at our own pace. You'll go at your own pace. You'll dip your big toe in and see how much you want to push whilst you're there. Some people just launch and just dive on in, and some people gently do that as well. We're all a little bit different in that space. But it is a remarkable adventure, and we're super excited to be able to go back in December and experience the joys of Cambodia and Flame once again. Thank you all for coming. Kia ora. Any questions? Raise any questions? Then, if not, we'll just hang around and mill and possibly, yeah. I mean, we've got, like we said, we have 50 odd people interested in this trip, which is amazing. We normally take 24, 4 groups of 6. We think we don't really want to turn people that have got a real opportunity to have a life-changing experience away because of group size, and we think it will work with 4 groups of 8 as well as 4 groups of 6. But there are a couple of implications on that around flight costs, and obviously we need to recruit some more members of staff as well. Cool. Thank you all very much indeed. And applications, just get those in as soon as you can. We want to finalise in the next week or so. Thank you very much indeed.